Prince had left Carrie in the arms of her stepmother, he returned to the parlor. "Well?" demanded Kate. "She will stay. You will, I hope, also, tonight. As I shall not be 18, and my own mistress on the 20th, and as I haven't a sick stepmother, I won't." "Then you will give me the pleasure of seeing you safely through the window again?" When Mr. Prince returned an hour later, he found Carrie sitting on a low stool at Mrs. Starbottle's feet. Her head was in her stepmother's lap, and she had sobbed herself to sleep. Mrs. Starbottle put her finger to her lip. "I told you she would come. God bless you, Jack, and good night." The next morning, Mrs. Tretherick, indignant, the Reverend Asa Kramer, principal, injured, and Mr. Joel Robinson, senior, complacently respectable, called upon Mr. Prince. There was a stormy meeting, ending in a demand for Carrie. "We certainly cannot admit of this interference," said Mrs. Tretherick, a fashionably dressed, indistinctive-looking woman. "It is several days before the expiration of our agreement, and we do not feel, under the circumstances, justified in releasing Mrs. Starbottle from its conditions." "Until the expiration of the school term, we must consider Miss Tretherick as complying entirely with its rules and discipline," imposed Dr. Kramer. "The whole proceeding is calculated to injure the prospects and compromise the position of Miss Tretherick in society," suggested Mr. Robinson. In vain Mr. Prince urged the failing condition of Mrs. Starbottle, her absolute freedom from complicity with Carrie's flight, the pardonable and natural instincts of the girl, and his own assurance that they were willing to abide by her decision. And then, with a rising color in his cheek, a dangerous look in his eye, but a singular calmness in his speech, he added, "One more word. It becomes my duty to inform you of a circumstance which would certainly justify me, as the executor of the late Mr. Tretherick, in fully resisting your demands. A few months after Mr. Tretherick's death, through the agency of a Chinaman in his employment, it was discovered that he had made a will which was subsequently found among his papers. The insignificant value of his bequest, mostly land, then quite valueless, prevented his executors from carrying out his wishes, or from even proving the will, or making it otherwise publicly known, until within the last 2 or 3 years, when the property had enormously increased in value. The provisions of that bequest are simple but unmistakable. The property is divided between Carrie and her stepmother, with the explicit condition that Mrs. Starbottle shall become her legal guardian, provide for her education, and in all details stand to her in loco parentis." "Oh, what is the value of this bequest?" asked Mr. Robinson. "I cannot tell exactly, but not far from $500,000, I should say," returned Prince. "Certainly, with this knowledge, as a friend of Miss Tretherick, I must say that her conduct is as judicious as it is honorable to her," responded Mr. Robinson. "I shall not presume to question the wishes or throw any obstacles in the way of carrying out the intentions of my dead husband," added Mrs. Tretherick, and the interview was closed. When its result was made known to Mrs. Starbottle, she raised Jack's hand to her feverish lips. "It cannot add to my happiness now, Jack, but tell me, why did you keep it from her?" Jack smiled, but did not reply. Within the next week, the necessary legal formalities were concluded, and Carrie was restored to her stepmother. At Mrs. Starbottle's request, a small house in the outskirts of the town was procured, and thither they removed to wait the spring, and Mrs. Starbottle's convalescence. Both came tardily that year. Yet she was happy and patient. She was fond of watching the budding of the trees beyond her window, a novel sight to her Californian experience, and of asking Carrie their names and seasons. Even at this time she projected for that summer which seemed to her so mysteriously withheld, long walks with Carrie through the leafy woods, whose gray, misty ranks she could see along the hilltop. She even thought she could write poetry about them, and recalled the fact as evidence of her gaining strength. And there is, I believe, still treasured by one of the members of this little household, a little carol so joyous, so simple, and so innocent that it might have been an echo of the robin that called to her from the window, as perhaps it was. And then, without warning, there dropped from heaven a day so tender, so mystically soft, so dreamily beautiful, so throbbing and alive with the fluttering of invisible wings, so replete and bounteously overflowing with an awakening and joyous resurrection not taught by man or limited by creed, that they thought it fit to bring her out and lay her in that glorious sunshine that sprinkled like the droppings of a bridal torch the happy lintels and doors. And there she lay, beautified and calm. Wearied by watching, Carrie had fallen asleep by her side, and Mrs. Starbottle's thin fingers lay like a benediction on her head. Presently she called Jack to her side. "Who was that?" she whispered. "Who just came in?" "Miss Van Corlear," said Jack, answering the look in her great hollow eyes. "Jack," she said after a moment's silence, "sit by me a moment, dear Jack. I have something I must say. If I ever seemed hard or cold or coquettish to you in the old days, it was because I loved you, Jack, too well to mar your future by linking it with my own. I always loved you, dear Jack, even when I seemed least worthy of you. That is gone now. But I had a dream lately, Jack, a foolish woman's dream, that you might find what I lacked in her," and she glanced lovingly at the sleeping girl at her side. "That you might love her as you have loved me. But even that is not to be, Jack, is it?" And she glanced wistfully in his face. Jack pressed her hand, but did not speak. After a few moments' silence, she again said, "Perhaps you are right in your choice. She's a good-hearted girl, Jack, but a little bold." And with this last flicker of foolish, weak humanity in her struggling spirit, she spoke no more. When they came to her a moment later, a tiny bird that had lit upon her breast flew away, and the hand that they lifted from Carrie's head fell lifeless at her side. End of an episode of Fiddletown.